February 14th, and we're going to take some more testimony on H28. And we're starting with the co-sponsor of the bill. If you can identify yourself for the record and proceed for why we have brought this bill.
Great. Thank you, Chair Lalonde. My name is Ella Chapin. I represent East Montpelier and Middlesex, and it's a pleasure to be here today to see you all. So this bill for me started more than a year ago when in this room we were working on a bill, and it was on a totally different topic, and something about the bill mentioned an oath, and we noticed that it didn't say there was also the option for an affirmation. And I thought that was sort of strange, given that I sort of understood it as anytime somebody needs to give an oath, there's also the option of affirmation. That sort of just seemed like things had changed over the years and that was generally always an option. So it was interesting to see that it wasn't in this particular statute that we were working on. And it made me question, maybe that's a situation where it's not consistent across statutes, and talking with legislative counsel led me to learn that indeed it is not consistent across our statutes. And I wondered, is that like a statute cleanup process, like some of the other sort of statute cleanup operations that legislative counsel takes care of over time? And no, I was told it was definitely a policy matter. And so we talked about a couple different strategies for tackling this. In general, as I talked with other legislators and a few other folks, it didn't seem to be a controversial subject, but more that, like me, many people just thought this was already the case across our statutes. So just wanted to, I know you already walked through the bill, but I just wanted to read out loud at least one definition of oaths and affirmations and the difference between them. According to the National Notary Association, which is generally the place online that I could find any decent definitions of these, while both oaths and affirmations are notarial acts that compel a person to tell the truth, an oath is a solemn spoken pledge to God or a supreme being, while an affirmation is a spoken pledge made on the signer's personal honor with no reference to a higher power. Either is considered acceptable, and the choice is left to the, in this case, signer. Another place that I found, oaths are formal declaration. I think this is dictionary.com. Oaths are formal declarations or promises typically made in a religious or sacred context. They involve invoking a higher power or swearing by something of personal importance. Oaths carry legal implications and are commonly employed in legal proceedings, such as courtrooms or the assumption of public office. Violation of an oath may result in legal penalties and damage to one's credibility. And affirmations are solemn declarations affirming the truthfulness or sincerity of statements or commitments without any religious or sacred references. I won't read the rest of the definition, but it's basically the same thing, but being made under the penalties of pain and perjury, as our statutes say, instead of to God. So I'm hoping you will join me in working on sort of just basically fixing this across our statutes to what I think our culture now expects, to have both the option to either swear an oath or affirm under penalties of pain and perjury. You probably already talked about this, but this bill, it's, I think, 66 pages, covers the first 10 titles in statute, does not cover all the statutes. It was quite a workload for legislative counsel to go through. So our solution was to sort of split up the statutes and do a bill like this. I think it'll be 3 years worth of bills potentially, or depending on how the next batch of statutes go. So this is the first of what will hopefully be a few bills to take care of this across the statutes. And that's all I have for you.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Any questions for Ella? Besides, how much do you miss us?
Not a question. Is this, and I'm going to explain why I'm asking it. Is this an attempt to bring more people into the fold, or is it a step? First of all, I'm not religious. Put that right up front. But is it an attempt to bring more people into the fold, or is it an attempt to push religious people out, because there has been comments made about pushing not exact quote about pushing religious people away?
Yeah, it's a great question and an important question. And this is meant to be inclusive, and frankly, possibly improve our statutes to what might even be common practice, maybe even sometimes against what the statute says. I don't know that. I haven't heard any examples of that, but given how much I think people just presume an affirmation is equivalent to an oath in most or all situations, it makes me wonder, are we even fully following the statutes in some cases? So it's meant to enable everyone to have the option of either swearing to God or affirming under penalties of pain and perjury, and not to exclude anyone based on anything, including their religious affiliation or interest, to make an oath to a higher power that they believe that's the best way for them to basically promise to tell the truth. So yeah, it's meant to be fully inclusive. We could be looking at a bill that takes away oaths and swearing to God, but we're not. We're looking at a bill that makes that always both options in all circumstances.
And that's what I knew.
Yeah. It's good to just
Some
say it.
things have been said that. That's good.
It's certainly the intention behind this bill. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the question.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. It's nice to have you back.
Sit with you all.
Traitor. Yeah, introduce some more bills that come to us, so we can have you in again.
And then stay.
Yeah, very good. Zach is the only, is the new, oh no, Ian too. Also, sorry. These two guys.
Thanks for being here.
I was on the committee for the last week.
And we'll welcome the Deputy Secretary of State to join us now.
Oh, no, I thought the whole thing was.
Hi,
Thank you for being here.
thank you for inviting me. For the record, my name is Lauren Hibbert. I am the Deputy Secretary of State, and I appreciate being asked to come and talk to you about this bill, which our office supports wholeheartedly. I think in a lot of applications, we have not been following the statute precisely, and we've been offering to people who do affirmations, or when we have people like the constitutional officers, we have been asking them, do you want to swear or affirm? And we've been giving them that choice. I don't believe that is currently in the statute.
So I may.
Yes, please, yeah, go ahead.
Legislative Council, there is the language in Title I that says both includes affirmation. So I think you're.
Okay, good.
I want to be clear, I don't think people have been violating the statute. This is just including that language throughout instead of having somebody not necessarily know to look in Title I.
So we've been following the law. That is a relief since we're being recorded. But we support this wholeheartedly. We do believe this language is much more inclusive and will make it clear. The one thing I did want to just flag for this committee is there is work to operationalize the statute, because this will require updating a lot of forms. And so, for instance, in our office, we have people swear under the pains of perjury in a lot of places in our IT systems. And that will need to be modified to say swear or affirm, just to be clear that that is possible. And so the effective date of July of 2025, while I think it could be possible, it might be more difficult for other people than the Secretary of State that have multitudes of forms, other government entities. I can think of at least 15 or 20 places at the Secretary of State where we'll have to update something, and most of that is within an IT system. And maybe we should just do that proactively anyway, but I just wanted to flag that it may take time for people to get up to speed and be able to make these changes.
So what kind of effective date would be necessary?
I would think 6 months would be prudent. Because people, I mean, one would think that you would be able to list all of the forms where you have an oath pretty easily and do an inventory, but it will take some people. I'm thinking about economic services or tax. There's just quite a few places where it may take some time, and I can't speak for them on how long it would take, but.
Yeah, Tom, then Ian.
Yeah, I envision stacks of forms that are gonna be thrown away.
Yeah. Hopefully, most people are doing the majority of this work on IT platforms. I think the reality is most of us are doing most customer service facing work through IT systems.
And that was on my mind too, but my old school mind.
But there will be forms that need to be modified that are either paper or digital.
But you don't foresee a lot of waste, I guess you could say.
I don't foresee a lot of waste. I think the majority of people in state government now, thankfully, are not printing boxes and boxes of forms, but instead of using IT systems or printing those paper forms on demand when somebody needs them.
And that's what I thought, but I had to hear it out loud. So.
Ian.
So are you only going to update the forms that relate to titles 1, 10?
So I'm thinking through, elections is in Title 17 and business services is in 16. And if I can rely on the Title 1 definition, I think we would proactively update the titles, all of the titles within the Secretary of State's office, just because it would be a uniform effort and we could get them all done. If we're doing an inventory of all of the forms that we have where we are asking for oaths, then I think we would want to make sure that we get them all done in the same implementation period, just so that we can cross that off of our list and not wait for legislation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you, Chair. I'm curious, are there any instances where an oath or where an affirmation is not an adequate replacement of an oath?
Well, the intent of the statute would make it so that they had the same force and full effect. So following the statute that's in front of you as proposed, no, this would make it equally. And we have interpreted an affirmation to have the same force of law as an sworn oath.
And is that the interpretation of the Secretary of State's office, or is that a universally accepted understanding across the US?
I think you might have to ask Ledge Counsel for that legal interpretation, but the way that we have been interpreting
But you've
it,
been applying it that way.
we've been applying it that way.
If legislative council can opine on that.
Sure, Jen Kirby, Office of Legislative Counsel. Again, under our existing law, oath includes affirmation, whereby law and affirmation may be substituted, which is a little vague, but
And this is US statute, not
no, this is Vermont.
Vermont. But I'm asking about the United States. Like, is this universally accepted across the US? Like, are other states doing what we're trying to implement?
I would have to research that.
That'd be pretty helpful.
So, and I guess my question on that would be, is that relevant as far as, I mean, if there's a federal law that's requiring an oath. So I can also tell you that there, and Jen can explain this further, but when she testified and walked through the bill, explained that there are places where we have uniform laws that we have to really stick to what the uniform law is across the country. And there may be places there where it says oath and we're not going to change that because we have to follow that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say specifically, for our purposes, the compacts where the language
Compact.
is identical. Yes,
Right,
uniform laws, we can generally have some.
Right. Okay, but compacts, thank you.
But compacts, we cannot change wording of compacts. Typically, they have to be enacted as written in every jurisdiction that adopts it.
And I guess a follow-up question is, do we have a sense on those of us that are all sworn in or affirmed, do we have a sense on who opts for what? How many people in the legislature, in elected office across the state?
In the legislature, you may remember you're given that oath or affirmation in bulk. So I don't know how.
Like, how prevalent is this? Are we talking about 5 legislators that are opting in for this?
Oh, I would assume it's far more than that. But I don't.
But you're
But I don't.
tracking. Yeah.
No, because you all say it at the same time. So I don't know how many of you are saying
Right, but
when the
I think
secretary
that's
leads
really
you.
curious
Yeah,
point, right? You know, I think that would be an interesting data point for us to be informed about.
I don't have data on that. I can tell you that of our separately elected constitutional officers, I believe one was an affirmation.
Was that?
I believe it was Mike Pichek.
Okay.
but I'll have to double check.
Ella wanted to weigh in. Yeah, go ahead, Ella.
Yeah, I just, so I did some of that national research because I had the same curiosity when I was working on putting this out. I wanted to make sure, like, are there instances where there is practice in our country that an oath is going to be an appropriate way? And I could not find any instance of that. Now, I'm not a lawyer using the systems that our legal counsel have access to, so it might be interesting. to find
Yeah,
out more,
we'll have
but-
them look into
But
it.
I just want you to know, I did do that and I could not find anything. And I have also did notice that multiple of our statewide constitutional officers use the affirmation, but I also noticed in the statute under like the I think it's maybe under the treasurers, it is allowed, but then under in the section about the attorney general, it is not listed as an option.
Because she's in statute,
Um,
right?
no, they're both in statute.
Okay.
And in one place, in multiple places with our statewide offices, it is right now, the statute says only an oath. So they might have read that as I should use the oath.
But
Anyway.
P-TECH did not use the oath.
That's
That,
right.
that is my
He's,
memory.
that's right. I think that there were two of them, but because I was paying attention, because I'm
Right.
paying attention to this. So
Right, so
just
wasn't it
wanted to
not,
let you know that I have done a lot of the research and observation on that, and it is incredibly prevalent, and all of the international association, all of the national level associations treat oath and affirmation identically.
but concerning what Ella's just talking about, if it's not in statute and someone opted for that regardless, does that create any kind of concern in the validity of the office in certain?
It does not because of the
And we're
provision.
100% positive about that.
Yes, because of the provision that Attorney Carby just referenced in Title I.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
I actually, one other question. As far as costs of changing the forms and such, is that going to require like additional costs? Is that just part of normal operation? Do we need an appropriations?
Within the Secretary of State's office, there will be a cost. I haven't scoped that cost. And I don't know whether it's something that we could just fold into our daily operations, but it will require work on the behalf of our team, but then also work with our IT vendors. And we have, counting 5 IT programs that will need to be modified. So 5 different vendors, but I haven't scoped that. But this is also something that the Secretary of State really supports and wants to do, and will make happen regardless of an appropriation, but there will be a cost.
Right. So we may have to run this through appropriations just for them to hear that it's already covered, but we'll find out. I'll talk to folks in appropriations to determine that. So.
And if you need me to dig into that more, I'm really happy to do so, but
Okay, appreciate that.
it will be a de minimis cost, I would imagine. I would think
Yeah, that's
under $10,000.
Yeah, that's presumably, we've run things in the past by appropriations and they say de minimis cost, but they're the ones that get to say that.
Yeah.
Just Ian.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, only because maybe it's just an opportunity for me to brag. I just was sworn back in as a justice of the peace. in
Congratulations. Thank you for
Brattleboro, yeah.
doing so.
And I'm trying to remember, I think I was able to affirm and not just take an oath. Do you guys like go to the town clerks and like update them on changes like this?
Yes.
Okay.
That is a key function of the Secretary of State, is to help with JPs.
And would this impact that? I know.
This particular bill will not, because JPs are not within 1 through 10,
Okay, great.
but
Eventually.
it will eventually.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. So we're going to just take a 10-minute break because I see that we have one of our 11 o'clock witnesses already here. So we'll start with Robin Joy